Okay, first of all, let us introduce ourselves. My name is Muhammad Said Abdurrahman, and there's Maisie Fakhira Camilla, there's Rafi Sufaiz, Syaikhuna Jalaludin Rumi, and lastly, Faiz Dwiputra. Okay, for today, we'll be presenting about monopolistic competition. Okay, so what is the difference between monopoly and perfect competition? So for the first one, monopoly. The term monopoly itself means alone to sell. In a monopoly market, there is a single seller of a particular product with no strong competition from any other seller. Okay, so for the characteristic is the first one, single seller of the product. In a monopoly market, usually there is a single firm which produces and or supplies a particular product or commodity. It is fair to say that such a firm constitutes the entire industry. Also, there is no distinction between the firm and the industry. The second characteristic is entry restriction. With this, another feature of a monopoly market is restriction of entry. This restriction can be any form like economical, legally, institutional, artificial, and etc. Okay. The third one is there is no close substitute. Usually, in a monopoly sell a product which does not have any close substitute, therefore the cross elasticity of demand for such a product is either zero or very small. Also, the price elasticity of demand for the monopoly's product is less than 1. Hence, in the monopoly market, the monopolists face a downward sloping demand curve. Okay, for the fourth one is price maker. Since there is only one firm selling the product, it becomes the price maker for the whole industry. The consumer have to accept the price set by the firm as there are no other seller or close substitutes. Okay, next is perfect competition. What is it? In a perfect competitive market, there are numerous buyers and sellers. Seller humongous product in the market. In the market, no one is able by his own action to influence the market price since all have access to full and immediate knowledge of the price at which the trading is currently taking place. Okay, so for the first characteristic is there is a large number of seller and buyer. There will be a large number of seller and buyer for a good in this market. Thus, the output of a buyer or a seller is only small part of the total output. The second is humongous commodities. Products in this market are identical in every aspect. A consumer shall get the same good from everywhere he purchases them. As a result, a commodity will have the same price all over the price. The third one, it is free entry and exit. Any firm is free to enter into the market as per its desire. Finally, it can leave production at any time. This helps new firm to enter into the business when conditions are favorable. As long as a firm earns supernominal profit, it usually stays in the competition. In case of loss, firms shall start exiting the market. Next, for the first one, is the mobility of factor of production. The mobility of factor of production means that all the factors are easily movable from one production to another easily. This is also useful for free entry and exit of form factor. For example, it is land, labor, and capital. It is able to move the production activity where they get higher incomes. The fifth one is the absence of transport cost. Under a perfect market, transport costs should not be added to the price. If transport costs are added to the goods are available at fewer price at the near market and they are available at the higher price at the distant market. For the sixth one is perfect knowledge of the market. Buyer and seller in this market will have a clear knowledge of market condition. Thus, there will be one price through the market. And lastly, the seventh one is price determination in perfect competition. In perfect competition, the situation price is decided by the market. The market brings about a balance between the commodities that come for sale and those demand for by consumer.
The monopolistic competitive firms in short run. So, monopolistic competition is the economic market model with many sellers selling similar but not identical products. The demand curve of monopolistic competition is elastic because although the firms are selling differentiated products, many are still closest substitutes. So, if one firm raises its price too high, many of its customers will switch the product made by other firms. This elasticity of demand is like pure competition, where elasticity is perfect. Demand is not perfectly elastic because a monopolistic competitor has fewer rivals than would be the case for perfect competition, and because the products are differentiated to some degree, so they are not perfect substitutes. Monopolistic competition has a downward sloping demand curve. Thus, just as for a pure monopoly, its marginal revenue will always be less than the market price because it can only increase demand by lowering price, but by doing so, it must lower the price of all units of its products. Hence, monopolistically competitive firms maximize profits of or minimize losses by producing that quantity where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. Both offer the short run and the long run. So here are some example of the graph. The graph here, it shows short run monopolistic firms graph. Why do you know it is short run? Because it shows, it gives some profit. So here is the total revenue, here is the total cost, and here is the profit. But if some company news, some firms news, it is if it's making profit, they will enter the market, and they will make their own product, and we'll go to the long run equilibrium. Long run equilibrium. If the competitive firms in an industry earn an economic profit, then other firms will enter the same industry, which will reduce the profits of the other firms. More firms will continue to enter the industry until the firms are earning only a normal profit. However, if there are too many firms, then firms will incur losses, especially the innovation ones, which will cause them to leave the industry. Consequently, the remaining firms will return to profitability. Hence, the long run equilibrium for monopolistic competition will equate the market price to the average total cost, where marginal revenue equals to marginal costs. As shown in the diagram I've drew. Remember, in economics, average total cost includes a normal profit. Because monopolistically competitive firms do not operate at their minimum average total cost, they therefore operate with excess capacity. Note in the above diagram that firms would lose money if they produce more to achieve either allocative or productive efficiency. That most firms operate with excess capacity is evident when looking at most monopolistically competitive firms, such as restaurants and other retailers, where salespeople are often idle. Some firms may have enough of an advantage to continue earning economic profits even in the long run. For instance, a business can have an excellent location relative to other locations in the area, which will always give it an advantage over other firms in that local market. Or a firm may have a patent or trademark on its product that prevents competitions. In such cases, firms have some degree of market power that would allow them to price their products above competitors' prices without losing too much business.
Monopolistic versus perfect competition. Monopolistic markets. In a monopolistic markets, firms are price makers because they control the prices of goods and services. In this type of market, prices are generally high for goods and services because firms have total control of the market. Perfect competition. In a market that experiences perfect competition, prices are dictated by supply and demand. Firms in a perfectly competitive market are all price takers because no one firm has enough market control. Unlike a monopolistic market, firms in a perfectly competitive market have a small market share. The difference between monopolistic versus perfect competition market. Perfect competition is a market structure in which numerous sellers sell similar goods produced or manufactured using a standard method. Each firm has all information regarding the market and price, known as a perfectly competitive market. Monopolistic competition is a type of imperfect market structure. In a monopolistic competition structure, the general sellers sell similar product but not identical ones. Monopolistic competition and the welfare society. Monopolistic competition does not have all the desirable properties of welfare competition. There's a normal deadweight loss of pricing in monopolistic competition caused by the markup or of price over marginal cost. However, the administrative burden of regulating the pricing of all firms that produces differentiated products would be overwhelming. Another way in which monopolistic competition may be socially inefficient is that the number of firms in the market may not be the ideal one. There may be too much or too little entry. Externalities of entry include product variety externalities. Because consumers get some consumer surplus from the introduction of a new product, entry of a new firm can face a positive externality on consumers. Business stealing externalities. Because other firms lose customers and profits from the entry of a new competitor, entry of a new firm imposes a negative externality on existing firms.
Advertising is closely related to existence of brand names. In many markets, there are two types of firms. Some firms sell products with widely recognized brand names, while other firms sell generic substitutes. For example, in a typical drugstore, you can find Bayer aspirin on the shelf next to generic aspirin. In a typical grocery store, you can find Pepsi next to less familiar colas. Most often, the firms with the brand names spend more on advertising and charge a higher price for its product. Critics argue that brand names cause consumers to perceive difference that do not really exist. In many cases, the generic good is almost indistinguishable from brand name good consumer willingness to pay more than brand more goods. This critic this critics assert is a form of irrationality fostered by advertising products. More recently, economists have defended brand names as useful way for consumers to ensure that the goods they buy are high quality. There are two related arguments. First, brand names provide consumers with information about quality, when quality cannot be easily judged in advance of purchase. Second, brand names give firms an incentive to maintain high quality because firms have financial stake in maintaining the reputation of their brand names. Conclusion. Monopolistic competition is true to its name. It's a hybrid of monopoly and competition. Like a monopoly, each monopolistic competitor face a downward sloping demand curve and, as a result, charge a price above marginal cost. As in a perfectly competitive market, there are many firms, and entry and exit drive the profit of each monopolistic competitor towards zero in the long run. Table 1 summarizes this lesson. The equilibrium in a monopolistical competitive market differs from perfect competition in that each firm has excess capacity and each firm charges a price above marginal cost. Monopolistic competition does not have all desirable properties of perfect competition. The product's differentiation internet in monopolistic competition leads to the use of advertising and brand names. Firms use advertising and brand names to take advantage of consumer irrationality and reduce competition.
The debate over advertising. When the firm sells different products and charge prices above marginal cost, each firm has an incentive to advertise in order to attract more buyers to its particular products. There are several debates regarding advertising. The first is counter advertising. Many argue that the purpose of advertising is to manipulate people's taste. They also argue that the actual cost used for advertising can be allocated to improve product quality. The next argument is that they think advertising can disrupt that course of competition in the market by convincing that the products are very different from the others, when in fact they aren't too different. For this reason, they concluded that advertising makes the economy less efficient. The second is pros of advertising. Pro advertising opinion states that advertising makes consumers more informed so that they can make the best decision and make the economy run efficiently. According to them, advertising can also make the market more competitive because informed consumer will make demand more elastic. Advertising as a signals of quality. Companies that advertise give signals that the products they sell are of good quality. The conclusions depart from the assumption that companies that have good product quality will not mind spending large funds on advertising because they believe their good products will be able to cover spending on advertising. If a company isn't sure of the quality of their product and they know the revenue from the product won't cover advertising funds, they won't advertise their product. In other words, people will see companies that advertise will very much money will think that the product has excellent quality. They no longer care about the content in the advertise. However, if the cost for advertising is in check, then companies that have low quality products will dare to advertise. If it happens both, companies with good and bad product quality will both advertise. Consumers who see these advertisements will try both products and can compare good and bad quality products.
Okay, that bring me to end of our presentation. Thank you very much for listening and goodbye.